Dating after divorce can feel like tumultuous and uncharted territory. Can you start dating while still going through the divorce, or is there a certain amount of time you should wait? Tune in as Daniel Herrold tells us his personal experience going through the divorce process, how he dated again, and used his experience as a lesson to teach his clients.
Hello there, Daniel. Daniel, where are you from?
I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
You're in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Oh, yes. That is an industry. I was in the rent-a-car industry for many, many years. And Oklahoma was an area where car rental companies used to house their call centers. And the reason why is because of the colloquialisms that people had with their voice. So you didn't know where they're from.
Interesting, because you didn't know if they were Southern or...
Exactly.
Or a Yankee, right?
And here I am. This is a Bronx girl. Everybody, hello, hello. So good morning. I am so excited and so pumped up to have a great guest on. Daniel Herrold, who happens to be a colleague, an acquaintance. Get to know him better, I hope, as we continue this journey as in the industry. And those of you that follow me on any of the platforms, make sure if you didn't catch this live, you need to hear this podcast. So good morning, Daniel. What I'd like to do is I would like to just take a few minutes and kind of give us your background about who you are and how you got involved in the dating world and helping people. All right, just a few minutes, we know.
I never thought as a middle-aged man that I'd be giving dating advice. I was born and raised in Tulsa, Maria, and dated someone that actually dated and married someone that graduated in my same high school. And the culture, we're kind of like the Southern culture in Tulsa, where, the expectation is that, you graduate, you go to college, you graduate from college, you get married, and you have babies. And I did that. I dated my ex-wife the summer after I graduated from high school. We dated for 4 years, graduated from college, got married that summer, had our first child 2 years later, and we had a 22-year marriage. And I won't get into the details as to why it didn't work out, but ended up getting divorced about 3 years ago. And here I am I guess at the time I was 45, had never dated. I mean, I had never, outside of, the woman that I married, had never really dated, let alone online dating. And so I fumbled through that for the better part of a year following my divorce, finally figured out how to do it in a healthy way. And, it led to a couple of things. I created a community for divorced men and women over 40. And it was basically based on a need that I personally had, which was I lost all my friends after I got divorced, and I wanted to create a community that provided support, but also an opportunity to cultivate friendships. And probably the number 2 topic that we talked about outside of divorce recovery was dating and how toxic it was and how everyone was disillusioned with the process. And here I am saying, well, I've had a pretty positive experience. And so I started using that platform to really talk about how to navigate dating in a healthier way. And that led into really kind of diving, head first into the dating space, which is how we connected.
Well, it's interesting because I was listening to a podcast, and people, when they become writers and write a book, it's really you're writing the book for yourself. So when I wrote my book, Going from Just One to a Plus One, was for myself when I got into the dating realm as well, although for different reasons, still to meet somebody coming from being a widower. The same challenges that you just shared with us, getting out there, that people feeling that they are disillusioned, and that how do you date again? How do you have a conversation? So important that people need to really arm themselves and have some knowledge about what they're doing in the dating world. So I think that's what you're doing is wonderful, because there's a need. And I think there's a stigma with dating coaches, because I'm kind of like used car salesmen. Think about it, right? They all hear, oh, they're just taking your money, and they're just trying to either match you up and you're never going to get anywhere. And that's not necessarily the case. We have a lot of good people out there that have good intentions, that want to help other people find love again. Now, I'm not going to ask you
100%
till the
agree.
end. I'm not going to ask you to the end till you found love again, because I don't want my listeners to go, "Oh my God, he's so handsome." We don't have, because I never divulge that. As a matter of fact, as dating coaches, I think it's important never to divulge that, and never to date your clients. Those are the couple of things you don't do. So when you started this and people just started listening, we're going to get into what you also do on TikTok and Instagram. I'm just like I said, I'm so pumped to have you. And really, it started with your own journey. And we all go through those pain points. And that's the way that we do learn and we can share.
100%.
Did you find so tell me, what you tell clients and how you felt when you went out on your first date, like you're a rookie.
It's so funny because I did a live on TikTok about a month ago, and everybody was asking me, they're trying to a lot of people ask for your credentials and how did you come to where you are today and the advice that you brought. And I spent an hour going through my entire dating journey. And it was so interesting articulating it because I was able to see, well, this is why I say you need to do this and don't do this, because it's all based on my own wisdom and my own experience that I gained. And, I did everything wrong, Maria, really early because, again, if you haven't dated in 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, the whole dating dynamic is different. It's all changed, and a lot of it is electronic based, and there's all these new behaviors that you experience in dating, and you don't get set up like, you think about in the 60s, particularly pre-70s, 1970s. I read an article that said in most cases you found a relationship in one of three ways: church, family or friends, and your neighborhood, which that was like, you think about like Leave It to Beaver. I mean, the neighborhood was your community, and that's where you would meet your people. Well, that's all changed. And it's all the primary driver now is meeting people electronically. And then you've got all these unhealthy behaviors that kind of manifest itself by being behind a screen. But, probably the first thing that I learned kind of going through my dating journey was that I dated too early. And I think that's an important distinction because, I dated in the middle of my separation. And if I had to go back and change anything in my dating life, I wish that I hadn't done that because I hurt a lot of people because I wasn't ready. It had nothing to do with not knowing how to do it. It was that I was emotionally unhealthy. I was in the process of, triaging what was a divorce and all the pain and the emotions that went through that. And nobody deserved that part of me. And I did it for the wrong reasons. I was yearning for connection. I wanted some sort of affirmation or, feedback that I was worthy, that I was attractive. And I just dove into it way too early. After a couple of crash and burns, I realized that I wasn't ready for a long-term committed relationship. I mean, I'd just gotten out of a divorce, and I realized that, this was a unique opportunity where I could date casually and rediscover myself. And so my whole mindset changed to where culture kind of puts this pressure on you that if you're single in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, and you're not in a relationship, something's wrong with you. And you have like this pressure to, okay, I got to go latch on to the next person, when a lot of times you're just not ready. And I realized that after crashing and burning in two short-term relationships. And I was like, I really enjoy dating. It's so fun. I've never done it before. How can I do it in a healthy way, but also be upfront and honest with what my intentions are? And that's when the whole journey started and when things started becoming more positive and I had better experiences.
So with that, and now, you work with men and women on this journey as well. And do you find, of course, though, with men is not as emotionally, though they're emotional, but I don't think they're as in touch with their emotional side. A lot more men are becoming in touch with that because we're going back to the different styles of dating. And years ago, men didn't even cry, right? And look at it today, we cry in a drop of a hat. But when you look at when you're speaking to a woman, because we get, and I have to myself too, we get emotional. We make a connection. So you're talking about when you got back out there in the dating world and had to be, honest. Did you date multiple people at a time, or what do you recommend when you decide that you're ready to date?
Well, I think there's an important distinction between a casual dater and an intentional dater. And I think, a casual dater is someone, you can break that up into multiple different subsections. I mean, there's a casual dater that
Mhm.
is just looking for sex, right? They're just looking for hookups and very short-term relationships. There's other casual daters that sex isn't driving or the physical piece isn't driving, but they want to rediscover themselves. They love, that was me. I wanted to figure out what I really wanted in my next long-term relationship. And so I knew that I needed to date a lot of different people. And none of those relationships or those dating experiences were long at all. But that was by intention. I was trying to experience and get a feel for the types of personalities that I wanted and who I was. And so I think, yes, it's healthy to set proper expectations up front of where you are and don't go in with, because I think a lot of men do this. Well, I don't know what I want, but if I found someone, sure, I would get serious. And my answer to women is he's a casual dater. He's just trying to appeal to the intentional dater by saying that he could move over on that other side of the fence, when in fact, he's really just a casual dater. And so I think when you're an intentional dater, you really know what you want. Now, I don't believe at that point that means you put all your eggs in one basket, but you're looking for long term, committed, monogamous relationships. And so maybe the pool of people that you actually date really starts to dwindle to maybe three people at any given time. But you're really looking for that commitment. You're looking for someone that could be aligned with you, that you might want to go all in with. And so I think that the number of people that you date certainly should diminish when you're intentional. But casual, I say, whomever you find interesting, go meet them, go enjoy those experiences.
That's so true. And but and I've told clients too, it's like a horse race. Okay. You have to see who's going to stay in the race. Although, and I'm sure you tell your clients when you get to a point where you start with the intimacy, that's the time you don't you it's almost like not committed, but a monogamous relationship. I don't think people should be sleeping with. I don't recommend to especially my community of women, because women are emotional. So once they go to sleep with somebody, it's it's hard to transition out and say, oh, but I'm going to still continue to date again. It just doesn't work. And you know what? And you have to make sure when you're ready to get to that point, because you're right. We all want to be in a relationship with somebody that's the right person. And
Right.
I think when you've been on that journey, well, in your case, you're divorced, and you have children, which I want to get into that too. And that's my next question. But I think when you get into that journey, it takes time to figure out what, the type of person you want. And I went on a journey. I've been widowed for 10 years, so I understand. And it's been an very interesting journey for me. However, there's light at the end of the tunnel. That's all I'm going to say at this point in my life with my personal relationships. But that it just takes time to get to know yourself. And I think you're right. The key thing is working on yourself and understanding what you want. And life changes, right? What you wanted when you got married, right? When you married your sweetheart, that was different. And it's interesting the way men think. They have this in their mind. Well, you date for this long, right? And then you get married, and then you have kids. It's like the beautiful perfect storybook, and it really doesn't work that way.
No, no. I feel like it has a little bit of it's a little bit of the masculinity qualities where men
Yes.
like men kind of like to plan and they want to make. I know women, also deal with they don't like the gray area, but I think men are kind of wired the same way, where it's like, okay, I got to build this plan, and what's the end game here? What's the goal? And I think that's where you see a lot of times middle-aged men jump way too fast
Mhm.
into relationships when they should take things slower. You see a lot of the love bombing. Some of
Mhm.
that's narcissistic qualities, but some isn't. Some are just men that just haven't really got in touch with their emotions. They don't really know what they want. They've got this internal pressure they've put on themselves that they need to find their next plus one soon. And so they latch onto someone when in reality, I always describe the dating relationship like it's like cooking something in a crock pot. I mean, you want it to be slow and steady,
Exactly.
right? You don't want something to be, when it's too fast, then you know that something's off.
Yeah.
When it's slow and steady, then you know, okay, I'm cooking this thing the right way.
Exactly. And that's an analogy I use quite a bit. And I definitely agree with you. Slow love is the best way, because that's when everything, all the ingredients and the flavors permeate. And when you get to the end, it tastes like it's fabulous. But that's true. And you even see that you talk about with the middle-aged people, when you get to the baby boomers like my age, there is that same way, and some of the men and women don't know how to date, and that's the key thing. That's where you need to find a dating coach, or maybe you know how to date, but that other person doesn't know how to date. So
Right.
then you kind of just guide them through, okay, I like you, but let's kind of take it slow and just kind of set the guidelines. And I'm sure you've done that with some of your clients. But I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you have you have a daughter?
I've got 3 daughters,
Oh my gosh.
24, 20, and 18. Yeah.
Okay. Have you walked any down the aisle yet?
No. And I'm hoping, knock on wood, that they enjoy their singledom a little bit.
Oh,
So
that's
I
right. Your
work on
ear
my
mic
back.
went away from my dog to one of my
Shouldn't have
dogs.
knocked on. I shouldn't have knocked on wood.
Well, I marry people. That's my main profession. I am an officiant. So
Yes.
talk
Yeah, I
about
knew
love.
that.
Yes. So, but you know what? So tell me, talk to me about what happens when you are dating, especially teenage or young children, because they're, you have to take into consideration their emotions, and then of course you have your own.
I think a lot of people, I've dated women casually where I've met their kids like on the first date as I pick them up, and I'm just, I'm kind of awestruck that they would even allow that to occur. And the one thing that, if you have kids, then in most cases you're either a widower or you're a divorcee, right? And so the thing that I think we just don't really quantify is that recovery from a trauma, like either one of those, number one, it isn't linear. You can't just say, well, 12 months and everybody's okay. And it's different for every person. It's different for your kids. And so you may feel like you're healthy and happy and you've recovered from your divorce, you're ready to get out there, but that doesn't mean that your kids are ready to experience and meet someone new and for you to put someone into their life. And so I think it's important to really be aware and attuned to where your kids are in their journey recovering out of a trauma, to try to determine when the appropriate time is to maybe introduce them to a relationship. And I think, let me key in on relationship. It needs to be a relationship. Should be someone that's exclusive, that you're both committed to each other before you would even introduce someone to your kids, whether they're teenagers or whether they're 5 years old. I just don't think that's fair for your kids to have this revolving door where you're bringing new men or new women into the fold, even if it's just casually. And so, I was very protective of introducing anyone to my girls. I've only introduced one, and it's a relationship that I'm in currently, and I kind of let them take the lead. I allowed them to develop the curiosity to say, "Hey, Dad, I heard," because they're going to hear it from their mother, or they're going to hear it from someone, my mom. "I heard that you're dating someone. Tell me about her." And I allowed that to kind of unfold and let it to happen that way through their curiosity versus me saying, "Hey, kids, guess what? I've got this new ... right?
Bringing home, yeah, your new mother, right? And that's not the
Right.
case. That's not the
Well,
case.
and if your kids are going through therapy because of the trauma, and I'm not a therapist, but I don't think it would hurt for you to have that consultation with their therapist and say, "Hey, I'm getting into a committed relationship. When do you think it's appropriate?" And ask for their advice. I mean, they're the experts. They know where your kids are, probably more than you do in terms of how they're recovering from that trauma. I do remember, just to kind of wrap up my kids, they started asking questions and I started to open up, and they said, that led to, well, when can we meet her? And that was just a really exciting time for me because my kids wanted to meet her. It wasn't me just trying to force everybody together. And, it was really fun to let that happen in an organic way and allow my kids' curiosity to drive the actual meet.
I think that is so important. And, even teenagers, and you get into adults too. Actually, kids that are adult, when you have your children are adults and you start dating somebody, and they have a lot more questions, and not that they do have their own concerns. And even though they want the best for their parent, there's always that underlying concern. And also they think they're going to be replaced no matter what age they are. So you have to just make them feel like they're loved and it's important. And when they go on with their own lives, as they get older, then it becomes a different story. But the same thing occurs with baby boomers too. Let me tell you, as it occurs with younger people as well. But you're right. I think when committed doesn't mean you're going to get married. It just means that you're committed to each other for whatever time the relationship is going to last. You're working it out to see if you can be committed. And I understand that. So tell me, with your clients, so do you have any coaching programs? I just want to hear a little bit about.
Yeah. So when I jumped into the dating space, I kind of came in as a content creator, which a content creator in essence is someone that just kind of speaks their mind, has a platform. And I did it through mostly social media. And I've participated in a lot of, podcasts and so forth to kind of talk about it. But as I looked at the dating space, the one thing that I noticed that was missing, number one, is I knew really quickly, I don't know if I want to write a book. And I definitely don't think I would be a good coach. I think I'd be too impatient to be a coach. So where could I serve? And I realized that in dating, the one thing that I didn't enjoy, which I think a lot of people don't enjoy in dating, is number one, talking to their family about their dating life, because your family tends to be nosy. True. And a lot of times you don't want to talk to your close friends about it because they're either in relationships and so they give you bad advice, or they just want to hear the funny stories because everyone knows that dating is not easy. And so they just want to focus more on the things that are funny and maybe the toxic stuff than the healthy stuff. And so I realized there's no community in dating. There's really not a safe place for people that are kind of like-minded to share their dating experiences, whether it's positive or negative. So I created a club, and it's a members-only club called the Intentional Dating Club. And its purpose is to bring like-kind, intentional daters, which I define intentional as those that are serious, they know what they want, into a community where they can share their experiences, ask for advice, work, I kind of use the theory, iron sharpens iron. So them learning from each other. And then I come in and I bring in people like you and other experts into that club and educate them on different topics. And so I started that in December, got about 150 people now in the club. And I love it. It's exactly what I think people need and want. And it's, I'm really excited to see how it grows.
Oh, I definitely, I think that's important. And as your own personal journey evolves, you can share that as well. As it's because let's face it, when you meet somebody in the beginning, and I was telling somebody this, my girlfriend taught me this. She says, in the beginning, you go through the Stormin Norman stage where you can't keep you're infatuated and your rose-colored glasses are on, and it takes time. That's also, I'm not saying it's like love bombing, but you want to make everything work. And then it kind of takes time before that dust all settles, right? And you get to really know each other, maybe 6 months, maybe 8 months, whatever it is. The dating world, like you said, and the dating world has changed. So many different personalities seem to have surfaced. We talk about narcissists. I spoke to Marie Tuman about, right? About the different attachment styles. No, that was not Marie. Was it Marie? The other, no, Marie talks about non-monogamous relationships, but I spoke to Flora about the different attachment styles. And when you do you recommend taking that test for yourself, and also when you're in a committed relationship, getting to know their attachment style?
Oh, I mean, Maria, I think that the best thing that anybody can do coming into dating for the first time after X number of years is to educate themselves. Self-awareness and knowledge is power, because you start to understand your behavior styles, and you can start to pick up on behavior styles that are negative or toxic. And so that's why I'm a big advocate that, if you've been in a 25-year marriage and you don't just jump on a dating app, build a profile and start swiping, you're going to get chewed up and spit out. You really are. You're not going to know what's right, what's wrong. And so I'm a big believer that to the extent that you can do personality tests, see what your attachment style is, hire a dating coach, the more that you feed your knowledge, the better of experience you're going to have in your dating, because you're not going to overinvest in the wrong people. That's what it's all about. It's building the skill set of discernment. And discernment is a powerful skill to be able to discern when you're engaging with someone. Are they real? What are their intentions? And identifying the red flags or the yellow flags. And I do think attachment style, I didn't even really understand that until I started dating and I learned about it and I took the test that Flora offered, and it helped me understand my behaviors, but also you can pick up on other people's behaviors as well.
And that way you can understand them so you don't weed them out. And I think that's the key thing, because especially when it comes to, for a woman with men, and I see this myself and other people that I've spoken to, is men have a different type of attachment style sometimes. And depending upon how they were raised, makes all the difference in the world. Hey, I just want to check Facebook. I might have some stuff going on. Okay, is he in Las Vegas? All right, they all want to know no, Daniel's in Tulsa. Sorry, ladies, he is so handsome. Yes,
he's nice.
Taken right now, and it doesn't matter. Let's see, what else did they say? Oh gosh, is he married? I knew you would get this.
I'm not married. I can officially say that.
But
I am in a relationship, and I actually met someone organically off the dating app, which I think everybody wishes that they can meet someone. So, so I am in a relationship. I met her at a cookout, a cookout that I hosted, and she showed up, and I wasn't there to meet people. I mean, that's what everybody dreams of, is like the encounter at the coffee shop or at the grocery store. And that's what it was. And we've been going strong for almost 2 years now.
Now, don't say that, because I marry so many people that meet online. Okay. And
I'm a huge advocate for online dating. Trust me.
Yes. And I think it just gets you from point A to where you want to go, provided the profile is properly set up. If two people set their intentions, so then you can see what the casual dater is. But
I mean, if you want to catch fish, you want to fish in multiple ponds. And I think the dating apps are a pond that you want to fish in. Now you got to be able to recognize when you pull that fish up, is it a catfish or is it a healthy fish, right?
That's right.
And I think the thing also applies in the everyday world. The more you put yourself out there, that's another pond that you can fish in, at the coffee shop, at the grocery store, hiking, running, book club, a cooking class. And I think people miss that part because this pond is too easy. Right. I can just get on an app and I'm swiping. But I think this other piece is another important part of it.
You need all three. It's the same thing. I use that analogy because it's like going out and looking for a position at a company. You don't send your resume to one company. You put it out like on different, and you let people know. You reach out to your resources. So,
yes.
All right. I don't want to keep you too long, but okay. So I want to put you on the hot seat.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Right. All right. So I want to know, first of all, what's your favorite song right now? What are you digging right now?
Oh, I'm a big fan of Manchester Orchestra. If you've ever heard of Manchester Orchestra,
yes.
They're very acoustical.
Yes.
And it was interesting, that funny story behind that, because I became a fan of it because there was this one song, I can't remember the name of the song, but it just spoke to me while I was going through my divorce. As I was going through those emotions, it was like this song that connected with me. And I was at that cookout where I met my girlfriend, and I was the DJ playing the music, and she came up behind me and was looking at my playlist, and she said, "Oh my gosh, you love Manchester Orchestra?" And I turned to her and I said, "Are you serious?" Because I hadn't met anybody that knew of them. And so that's one common link that we have, is we both love Manchester Orchestra. So that's my favorite.
Music is a big, big link. Favorite movie that you love watching over and over again?
I love, I would say the first thing two that came to my mind, Saving Private Ryan I just love the history part of it. I love the emotion that came with it. I mean, Tom Hanks was a genius, and Shawshank Redemption are two of my favorites.
Powerful, powerful movies.
You
True.
probably didn't expect that from a guy. You're probably thinking some action movie, but
That's okay.
I mean, both of them had a little. I mean, the first one had an element, but both of those speak to just like the human emotion and friendships. Like Shawshank, the friendship that they both built, and that last part of the scene, it always gives me chills, even right now, when he's walking on the beach to meet his friend after he got out of prison. Oh, I love that
Yeah,
movie.
you know what? You're giving me chills just saying that. Okay, so what was the last book you read that inspired you?
Ooh, I'm not really a book reader. I can't.
Do I need to send you my book? No.
Yes, you do. You do, because I'm committed to reading some more books. I can't. I see it. I can't even tell you in the last 2 or 3 years that I've read
Well,
a
then, is
book.
there anybody inspirational that you like to follow, that you listen to?
You know, I'm big on. I'm starting to enjoy some of the podcasts. Trying to think of some of the I mean, you're going to know my political view if I tell you what I'm. I like
And we
Joe
won't.
Rogan. I like Joe Rogan. I
Mhm.
think he's an incredible interviewer. So let's take the politics away. He's fantastic. He's really interesting. And I like a lot of and I can't, the names don't come to my mind, but a lot of the guys that motivate you, the men and women that are motivational speakers, and I follow a lot of them on social media and those type of people. So things that kind of get me, razzed up and ready to kind of get after it.
And one last question. Would you give your daughters the same advice in dating that you follow yourself?
Yes. As a matter of fact, probably the truest form of flattery is now my kids calling me for advice on dating. And I never really thought that I don't know. They always leaned on their mom, and they're mama's daughters. I mean, they just connect with her, and I have a unique relationship, a great relationship with my kids. But my middle child is in a relationship, and her calling me, asking me for either gift ideas or ideas on. We talked about love languages,
Mhm.
and then my oldest talking to me a little bit about online dating. So yes, everything that I say, and they do follow me, and sometimes they'll chime in. Um, I would tell them to follow my advice for sure.
Well, that's good advice. So I'm going to put all of Daniel's links onto this podcast, and I'm going to go back and link them also onto Facebook. You've got a fan club. So, okay, you have a fan club. If you want to join, I'm pointing because I have another screen. So that's why, as I'm looking at both of them here. And if anybody is interested in finding out about Daniel, feel free to reach out to him. What I love about you is you're transparent, you're vulnerable, which is important. I think more men need to be vulnerable in this world. And women love that as well. But also, if there's anything they want to know about dating, I know they can reach you. Give them quick contact information before we start.
Well, I think we all need to laugh about dating too. Let's take the pressure off and let's laugh. And so TikTok is where I put some funny videos, and I take like sitcoms and I apply dating to it. So follow me on TikTok, which is my full name, Daniel.Herrold, at Daniel.Herrold. And then of course on Instagram is where I put more of my content, written content, advice, things like that. And it's the exact same username, at Daniel.Herrold. So those are the two places.
Daniel, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your time with me, because it's precious, and with our community. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you.